welcome to the Beskar Briefing. Today's first episode will be on the Rise of Skywalker, the final installment in the Skywalker saga. Woohoo! It's over, guys.
Yeah.
It's over.
So well, no, not woohoo. That's it's tragic.
Tragic.
It's tragic, but it's fine. It's finally over. You know how like I remember watching episode 3, Revenge of Sith, in theaters, and I was like, dang, that's how it's over. I wasn't like really happy. Like episode 3 was just tragic all the way towards the end, right? So
It's a tragedy.
like last half hour was just brutal.
There's not really any. Yeah, I don't even think you can even classify that as a happy ending.
Exactly.
Because it's really not.
Exactly. So if we're talking about something like that, and yeah, this was much better of an ending.
Happy. There was a better conclusion to the Star Wars Skywalker arc.
Yeah. So, I guess first topic on our docket today will be, how did you like the movie? Your overall reaction and I guess your rating out of Beskar. So, by the way, we're using a Beskar rating. So, 10 Beskars means that you're full Mando. 1 Beskar means that you're literally the guy who gets his head chopped off in episode 1. So it's like,
your bar fight villain number 3.
Yeah, exactly. You don't really get a name. You just get some credits.
You get credits. You get your head chopped off. Get 5 credits.
Yeah,
there you go.
5 credits. All right, so I guess you can go ahead first, Mr. Ford.
Sure, man. So my initial reactions to the movie were actually incredibly positive. I really, really enjoyed it. I really liked the fast pace of it, and I really enjoyed just, I loved seeing Palpatine again. There, of course, were things that I didn't like about it, and we're going to get into that as we get further in this episode. But overall, I would have given it, like I said, 7 Beskar out of 10. It's like that. That Twi'lek that was on the ship when they were trying to escape.
Yeah.
And they locked up Mando. He was a pretty cool dude. He was smart. He was conniving. But he ended up dying anyway. That's kind of how I feel about that movie. It was good. It was definitely, like, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It just wasn't perfect. But I mean, what is nowadays?
Mm-hmm. I guess that's true. Yeah. So, out of your Beskar ratings, what would you give it?
Yeah, I definitely give it a 7 Beskar out of
7. All right.
Yeah,
I mean, that's pretty generous, I guess. A lot of people, of critics,
a lot of people
least
disagree with me about that. But I mean, I can still go back into the movie and watch it and have a good time.
I guess,
That's really
that's true. That's true. Is there a plus or minus? Because we'll get into that, but +1 because it's Star Wars. So is that still at 7?
Obviously, everything has a +1 because it's Star Wars.
Okay.
Paint
Makes more sense
on
then.
The Millennium Falcon. Yeah, paint drying on the Millennium Falcon gets at least 2 Beskar.
You're like, wow. All right, +1. It's Millennium Falcon
Yeah,
right there.
it's the Millennium Falcon. I can stare at that for a while.
Come on, man. That's the one that did the Kessel Run.
Of course.
So
in under 12 parsecs.
Under 12. If you round down.
Not if you round down, buddy.
So, I guess for me, I'm kind of in the same boat. We both did watch it twice, so the viewers out there want to know. So the first time I watched it was opening day, excitement bubbling over. And
I imagine that's what we were kind of talking about in terms of this, so our initial reaction.
Yeah. This I'm only going to talk about my first one. Mm-hmm. And then my rating will be based on the second one. Does that make sense? Because it's like, I can't not rate on the first. Because out of the first one, I'll just be like, oh yeah, fantastic, 10. And it just, because I enjoyed the movie. But I guess rating will be, mine. I'll go in the reaction first. Reaction, like you said, I enjoyed it. It was fast. So I did like that, there was movement going along finally. Because I felt like Force Awakens was a sort of a lot of exposition just because you're starting a new trilogy.
Yeah, you had to.
And then Last Jedi did have some stuff, but it was so offbeat that I liked it, but it was so offbeat that it wasn't like culmination of anything.
Mm-hmm.
But and this is like a culmination of, again, 8 movies into one, right? So you're 3 generations, and so I will say that I enjoyed the movie, like almost grasping onto every moment in the film. But again, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't the the best conclusion. But when you're talking about something like of 42 years type of magnitude, and again, it's original, right? Like it's not like MCU where you have a fallback into comics or previous, work. This is like you got to come up with it on the fly, like in a year or two. That's how much time I think the writers had to like write this and film it. So, yeah, I'll say I enjoyed it initially, and then when I went back and watched it, I was like, yeah, there's some faults with this. I feel like this could have been done better. But, it's Star Wars, and there were cool moments, especially in terms of cinematography and stuff like that. So, like, it was definitely cool to watch. And finally, like you said, more action or movement in the film. So you can watch it again and be like, okay, I'm not bored. So, yeah, I'll probably give it a 7, just like you.
Okay.
I was gonna give it a 6, but then I was like +1 Star Wars. And, and like you said, there's moments where I can watch it again. Like there's scenes that I definitely want to watch again, like the final battles and stuff like that. So it's cool to watch, but it's not. Storyline's not perfect.
It's not. I would not call it an average movie, so I wouldn't give it a 5. And
exactly.
I think it's just slightly better than a 6 because of Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm not gonna give it a failing grade. Like I consider 6 like a fail, but it's like I had good ideas or moments.
Yeah.
And I would, but it does wrap it up, so it does its job, so it passes.
All right, so I think we got our impressions. Let's hit the next topic.
Okay, so yeah, like you said, the topic was topic 1 was just easing us into it, man. We're about to be pitted up against each other. This is I mean, I guess Obi-Wan Anakin, right? So
right.
So I guess we'll just dive into topic number 2, which is our favorite moments. And both of us have, I guess, 2, maybe 3, and we'll just discuss them and try and say why these are the best moments in the film as well.
Yeah. So
you can go ahead first. Yeah. I'll give you the grant.
My favorite moment, my number 1 favorite moment in that entire movie is towards the end where Rey is hearing the voices. Because I mean, as a Star Wars fan, I've watched Rebels, I've watched Clone Wars, I've watched most of the extended stuff. I haven't read all the books, but I mean, who has?
I have.
I shouldn't say that. But like, I've seen all the movies. Like so listening to all of those different voices, especially the ones that they kind of just pulled out of nowhere, like Luminara and Dooley, Kanan, Jarrus. Like they had so many like really good. I think they even brought like both. And I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure they brought both Ewan McGregor and forgetting his name right now.
They did. Alec Guinness. They did.
Yeah, Alec Guinness. They brought both of them back to play the different voices of Obi-Wan. Like, that was so cool to me. Kind of weird, but still very cool to me. And I really, really enjoyed that. I enjoyed having to go back and listen and look up like some of the voices that I might have missed, because I definitely didn't originally hear Kanan. And then I went back, looked it up, and then watched the movie again, and then you kind of can hear him. And then my second favorite is a very close second, is when Luke is raising the X-Wing out of the water on Octo.
That's a good one, though. That's a good one.
Yeah, mainly because almost frame for frame, it's a really good callback to Episode 5 with literally no dialogue.
Right.
Like it is not a glaring in your face type of callback, but as you watch it, like you're hearing the music, and it's the exact same music that it was on Dagobah.
Shut up.
You're right, exactly. You're watching you're watching Luke, and he's doing the same pose of just like it's an awkward pose, but it's the same pose that Yoda does.
Just to lift the thing out of water.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Love that scene.
Could you say it was the Rise of Skywalker?
Please shut up.
It was it was definitely Skywalker raising something. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed that scene. All right, those are my 2 favorite moments.
I'll give you that. Right. I'll give you the first one, because that's also one of mine. So, the callback to the Jedi was really cool, because I mean, at the end of the day, the Skywalker saga is about the Force. It's about light versus dark. It's about the Jedi. Like, it's not really about... There's some resistance, there's some rebels, there's some, like, good guys, you know, war. But I always feel like the core of Star Wars is the Jedi versus the Sith. The light versus the dark. And so when that happened, it was like, yeah, this is the climax of the film. And you're talking about Anakin, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Qui-Gon, Mace Windu, Luminara Unduli, Ahsoka Tano, Kanan Jarrus, like just this plethora of Jedi, right? And like you said, just Jedi that you didn't think that they were gonna put in or come in and talk, and it was just so cool because it was like an uplifting feeling. So, and it was just cool that it was. I read somewhere that it was the same scene, the same stars sequence as Episode 4, the opening.
Yeah, I did see that.
And I was like, oh, that's cool, and I just liked that it was in space, you know, because it just shows that there's some sort of like universal force power. Yeah, it's not just like they just show up out of random.
It's also cool because you see the ones that didn't become Force ghosts,
right?
Like so, and I because they talk about in the universe how, you know, Force ghosts, becoming a Force ghost is something that you have to learn how to do.
Right.
And I think that was of course something that they kind of retroactively added, because, you know, why isn't everyone a Force ghost?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do really enjoy that, you know, they because they always talk about people living beyond the Force,
right?
And I really did enjoy that they introduced all of those Jedi not as Force ghosts, though a lot of people would disagree with me on that. Not as Force ghosts, but using those voices. There is a part of me that would have liked to see a bunch of Force ghosts.
Yeah,
but I do like, you know, as I'm thinking about it, as I understand it in the universe, I think it makes a lot more sense. I think it is really cool how they did that.
Right, and apparently the creators J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio did wrestle with this. Until like they even released the final cut of the film, they weren't sure whether Force Ghost, no Force Ghost, Force Ghost, no Force Ghost.
Right.
Like they weren't sure which one would be better, and so I don't think there's a right answer with that one. I just think that people would have liked to see them.
Oh, absolutely.
One last time. So I think that's why they were chanting for Force Ghost. Like you hear, it's like Force Ghost is the more popular one, just because you would like to see him. But and you know you want to see those actors as well, what they would look, even like just looking at them, because it sort of gives you that. Like, it's like talking on the phone versus a video call. Like, the video call is more personal.
You just see, you see them, you feel their presence.
Exactly. And so, I think that's why. And then, my second favorite... Well, it's not really so much a second favorite. I'd have to, like you said, close second. Maybe, like, 1A, 1B type of scenario. Like, they're so key in the film. And I really do feel like it was that scene in Pasana, the desert, and Rey and Kylo are both pulling and pushing the transport that at that point in the film you think Chewbacca's in, when you find out he's not. And, you know, Kylo pushes her towards the lightning. But there's that one shot where they're both, like, let's say this is the desert. Kylo and Rey are on opposite sides and the transport's there, and you just see how minuscule they are, but they're so... Because they're the only things in the desert, you also feel like they're grander than what they are, you know? Like, their size and stature doesn't measure up to their power and ability.
Yeah.
And then the struggle of this transport is caught in the middle, just like this whole, I guess, sequel saga. And I just like that, because it was just like the culmination of this tension between the protagonist and antagonist, right? So I feel like that, without that, the film really would have lacked, because you sort of felt it with Last Jedi with that lightsaber pull. But this shot was so cool, and so... Yeah. Because it's a transport. Like, pulling down a transport's a lot of force.
The only time we've ever really seen that is... we don't see a lot of really grand uses of the Force. Like, we see it when Yoda pulls the X-Wing out, and then later when Luke does. But, like, other than Extended Universe, like with Starkiller and the Force Unleashed game, you never see someone use the Force in, like, a huge way.
Right, just pull, really like, a building or pull, like, a starship out of thin air. Right. Like, it's not that powerful in the films, right? You get to see somewhat, but it's not that.
Until we see, which is another favorite moment of mine, freaking Palpatine just basically EMP blast the entire team.
I'll say I could have done without it, but the sound of it made me like it more. Like if that wasn't the sound they picked, I would have not liked it as much. I'd always just be like, okay, how powerful is this guy? They just made Palpatine like uber powerful for no reason.
I mean, we'll get into that because I have an opinion on that.
Okay, cool. But yeah, so I guess our favorite moments do line up. Not much disagreement there.
Yeah.
We do both like that it kind of centers around the Jedi and this whole stuff. So yeah, I guess topic number 2 is checked off because we're in agreement. Let's move into topic number 3. Do you want to introduce it, my friend?
Topic number 3 was gripes.
Yes.
So what we didn't like about the movie, and this is where we're going to start to strap in because, of course, we both just said we really like the movie. There's a lot wrong with this movie. Like there's no real good way to slice it. There is a lot about this movie that kind of's not great. So for me. Or actually, I introduced it, so you go ahead. You start with.
All right, cool.
Your yours, and I'll give you mine.
I guess I have 2 major ones. Let's just stick to 2 because there's a whole lot to unpack here. Let's just pick our 2 biggest, I guess.
Yeah. Mm.
I don't like that Palpatine had a son, and that son had a child, and it's Rey. Like, I still can't get over that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like the whole Rey Palpatine thing isn't good for me.
It's just not good. It's not good. It's not good.
I mean, for starters, I don't even really understand who would do the sideways shuffle of Palpatine, but at the same time,
right.
Like that's one big thing.
Right. So that's one of the parts. I was getting to that. Yes, that's wrong. Like, yeah, where's his son from? First off, who's his mother? Secondly, when I was in theaters the first time, even when I watched it, and Kylo says, "You're a Palpatine," he says that. I wasn't like shocked. I was like, okay. Like that's honestly weird that's even a thing, but okay, we'll just move on, I guess. I would have much rather her stay a nobody. I feel like that's much more powerful because it's then Rey and Kylo are more of a dyad than they were before.
Yeah.
And because now it's Kylo is son of Han Solo and Leia, grandson of Padme and Anakin, like huge legacy, and then Rey is just a scavenger.
So I really do. I'm gonna jump in here and actually.
Go ahead.
Because I have a comment. One, I do really enjoy that. I do like the idea of of her coming from nothing, and having this this power, because it makes the Force less about bloodlines and more about anyone can be a hero. Anyone can come out of the woodwork and take down evil. Right. One thing that I think would have made the movie better. Maybe not better than the nobody concept, but still better, and actually make the movie title make sense. I wish she actually was a Skywalker.
But I get it, but it's like the story that they've already introduced doesn't fit. Like, how could she couldn't really be Kylo's sister? Doesn't make any sense there.
You're right.
And then 2, she couldn't really be Luke's daughter because wouldn't he recognize her?
Here's what I'm saying. What if she was a Skywalker, but in a different way? So think about how Anakin was born.
Right.
Anakin was born through the midichlorians. Right. Palpatine created Anakin through the Force.
Debatable.
What if she happened the same way?
No, so that was one of my theories, was that when the film title was released and it said Rise of Skywalker, I was like, oh shoot. I got it. And I honestly still think it's one of the best things. Here's my idea. Just listen to it. You can agree or disagree.
Sure.
But you gotta admit, it's pretty well thought out.
We're waiting.
Right. Rey as a reincarnation of Anakin Skywalker. And that could be the Rise of Skywalker, because Anakin was born out of, like you said, midichlorians, like the Force, right? And so why wouldn't Rey also be born out of midichlorians and it would be really cool that whole backstory about her parents and all that leaving would just be BS that she created just so she didn't feel lonely, right? And it could just be like, and up to this point, Anakin's not showing up in episode 7 or 8, and so him coming back through Rey would have been really cool, because it could have been like a Skywalker moment, is that the will of the Force finds a way through these vessels, of human vessels, and sort of bend it.
I don't hate that at all.
Right.
And here's another reason, because like think about one of the quotes that Snoke had: "Darkness rises and light
to meet it." Right? Yeah.
So like that really would have tied that together really well. Like, okay,
hey man,
the Supreme, the not Supreme,
Disney, you want to hire the next writer? Just
hey man, hey, we got the High Republic coming up soon. Like, yeah, we can make some stuff happen.
We can make some stuff happen.
Oh man, another topic that we're gonna have to discuss at some point: the ideal Star Wars video game. Because I got.
Oh my gosh! All right, that's a good idea. Dude, I haven't really thought of it, but yeah, there's a lot that could go into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. All right, yeah, okay. So
back on track.
Back on track. So we're talking about gripes. That was mine.
So Rey's origin.
Right. You can say one, because that way we can bounce back. So we don't have to keep griping on mine.
One gripe that I have, and I don't really think I'd be curious to see how if you were to argue against this, but one gripe that I had in the movie was there was not a whole sense of finality. Like, so here's one. There are 3 different moments in that movie where you think something horrible is going to happen, and it very quickly is reversed.
Yes.
So, for example, Chewie being dead.
Okay, I was about to say the exact same one.
They didn't give us more than 5 minutes to think that Chewie was dead.
I wish that it was longer, because I really thought he was dead, and I was really sad. Like, right. I was like in theaters.
Like, I was crushed. I was like, oh my god.
I was like, man, they just killed off Chewbacca.
At the time, at the time when you're first watching it, it's like that immediate feeling of relief is welcome.
Oh yeah. But the second time, it's like, you guys could have left this going on a little bit longer.
You guys could have left that a little longer. Just let that sit. Let me
because it was the way he died that was so died, right? And so the way he didn't die, that she accidentally did it, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Rey was hating herself. She had this feeling of self-loathing. That would have also, I think, made more sense as to why she was so scared to possibly turn to the dark side.
Exactly.
And if she had more time to actually ruminate on that, I think that she could have had maybe 1 or 2 more moments of possibly tipping in that scale, and then she could have had that fight with her dark self and overcome that.
Exactly.
Same thing with, C-3PO losing his memory, or the Resistance about to basically be crushed because Palpatine set off an EMP through his fingers. Like, both of those moments, C-3PO lasted a little longer, but even then, he was repaired by R2 very quickly.
Right, yeah.
And even though he still didn't have all of his memories, he still was...
I mean, R2 kind of had his database or something, right?
Yeah, he did. He had his memory banks.
And he said it's not that, it's not that reliable, because I guess R2 is kind of like a unreliable narrator, but C-3PO didn't have his memories from the prequels either, so it didn't... To me, it wasn't that big. Does it make sense? It wasn't like he was really dying.
I feel like it would have been a lot more impactful if C-3PO was dead.
Yeah.
C-3PO was... if translating that... sequence would have caused him to shut down because it was so against his protocol.
Exactly. And one of the things that I thought was going to happen was that he was going to die because he was made by Anakin Skywalker, right? Mm-hmm. And so he's kind of the only one. He's one of the, along with R2, he's the only one that's gone through all 9 films, right? So
yeah,
it would have been really cool, but it would have been more impactful, like you said, that if C-3PO dies, then it's Anakin's legacy's done. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Not saying I want all these characters.
No,
I didn't want Chewie to die. I don't want C-3PO to die. But it would have made for a more impactful.
I get it. I don't know if I say that I want C-3PO. Yeah, C-3PO's sacrifice wasn't really a sacrifice to me, but
it wasn't. It was just. And I mean, it was a little touching, I'm taking a last look at my friends.
Yeah, that was cool. But it's not they're dying. So
yeah.
And so I get what you're saying. I don't know if I would have wanted... Maybe I just would have wanted C-3PO to get his memory back or something from the prequels. That would have been cool. Or something like that. Yeah, but I don't know. I kind of have to disagree with you on the C-3PO point just a little bit. Just because I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like he was misused. And not misused, but he's just kind of like an afterthought in the whole storyline. So I get that.
But see, that's why I think I would have liked that, right? Because C-3PO being a major player in how the Resistance is going to succeed is kind of out there. You know, he's this character that is kind of whitewashed. He's always kind of faded into the background. He's there for mostly comic relief, and then in these in this final movie, he is the way to getting to Exegol.
Right.
That is so cool to me. Now, the fact that he just loses his memory, that's lame.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I'm saying I would have really loved it if he had to sacrifice his life to get this information to the Resistance. That would have been really cool. Or if he had to be converted into a Sith Wayfinder.
That would have been something.
Kind of basically turned it basically what they did with L3, where they had to plug his consciousness into a starship.
Right. That would maybe something like that. Something more drastic, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I guess
that would have been.
I definitely agree on the Chewbacca point, though. It could have been a little longer. It could have been almost towards the end of the movie where they could have revealed that, oh wait, Chewbacca's not dead. I think that they just didn't leave it as long. They didn't let it marinate enough. Because I feel like
you got more sense of a gripe. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. Yeah, no, I mean, we kind of covered your gripe on that. It wasn't as impactful. A lot of people said that Chewbacca should have died. It would have made the better movie. I see what they're saying.
I see what they're saying.
They're saying how more people in the film should have died. Because it's a final battle, and in all the other Star Wars movies, a lot of people die, right?
I think if the same amount of people died, and they just rearranged who died, I think it would have made for a better movie. I think what people are focusing on is just, it's the final battle, everyone should be dead. No, I don't think that.
But it's not just that. It's like they just don't want. They just wanted more major characters, because. Episode 1, Qui-Gon, right? No one expected Qui-Gon to just be he's out, one movie,
well,
pretty major.
He wasn't there in the next.
And then, I guess episode 2 didn't really have. Did they have anyone die really? I mean, Anakin lost his arm, something like that.
Anakin, they introduced and killed Jango in the same movie,
right? And then
that one dinosaur fucker who was on the council and should never be on the council.
Right. He pulled out his green lightsaber, got shot by Jango Fett, and then falls. That dude.
I go back and forth on whether or not I
Master Stegosaurus.
Right. I go back on whether or not I like that scene because on the one hand, it kind of makes Jango
look better. I mean, I like it. I'm honestly, when I was younger, I think I liked that character, the dinosaur one. And then when he died, I was like, dang, he's useless. I can't root for him anymore.
He's shit.
Yeah. So then, I guess, So let me move on to my gripe, I guess.
Sure.
My second gripe. I'm really sad on this one. I might cry, bro.
I'm not crying.
Oh, boy.
The Knights of Ren.
I forgot.
They were so cool.
Yo, I put that out of my mind.
They were so cool. And that was it. They just showed him. They fought only Kylo Ren. Did you notice that? I don't think they fought anyone else in the film.
Yes.
They only fought Kylo. So it doesn't make any... Yeah, no. They were out there.
They're just meant to be there and scary, and then they only fight.
Remember Luke said somewhere in episode 8 that he took a few of my students. Were they the students? If so, why don't they have some lightsabers? So underdeveloped.
Mm-hmm.
Just complete garbo in the development of the Knights of Ren. That really could have been much, much better. And I'm so sad because they really could have been... It would have been so much cooler if the Knights of Ren, including Kylo Ren, were the bad guy.
Yeah, especially because I really so far, I enjoy what they're doing with the Knights of Ren in the comics. Mm-hmm. The comics? I don't know why I said it like that. But, it's, they're cool. And
right.
Ren...
The original Ren
is cool.
Yes.
I really did enjoy that. So yeah, I completely agree with you. Actually, I do.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, I don't think.
I'm sure a lot of people would have liked to. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would have liked to see. I don't know if that's really a hot take, but the Knights of Ren ended up being complete garbage. So let's just say what it is.
Now, my second gripe.
Okay.
Is going to be a hot take.
Hot, what?
Okay.
Not gonna say that you're gonna disagree with me on that.
Yeah, but maybe a lot of people, maybe a lot of viewers might, even if I do.
Maybe a lot of viewers are gonna disagree with me on this. This is actually not just a gripe of the movie, but it's a gripe that I have because of the movie.
Okay.
Rey is a shittily developed character.
Hold on, time out. I agree, but continue. continue. Dude, I'm just gonna let you go on.
She's so poorly developed. She does not have, like, genuinely, it took me 3 movies to realize that I don't care about her as a protagonist. And it's entirely because everything they build up to when they do her character, when they have anything that has to do with her character specifically, they kind of change it in the next movie, so it's a little bit of a problem of the changing in directors and the artistic differences. But it also just really, like, she doesn't really change. She doesn't go through a lot of, like, learning. She doesn't learn a single fucking thing from Luke. She does not learn a single thing from Luke.
Just won't learn, will ya?
She changes Luke. Luke does not change her.
Right.
Leia does not change her. Her personality stays the same.
Right.
The only thing she does is she gains Jedi powers. She doesn't gain any wisdom from being a Jedi. And then being a Palpatine it truly barely affects her.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
The only thing it does is that it makes her
like, I wasn't shocked
that she'll be evil.
Yeah, and it's like it wasn't the fact that she has a struggle with light and dark is silly for her character specifically, which kind of, like you said, if her character was better developed, then it wouldn't have been a gripe for me. Maybe that's what I'm thinking now that I say it out loud. It wouldn't have been such a big gripe because then I could have seen like a struggle with light and dark. But she showed no real struggle of dark before this, so I don't know.
And she didn't even really show a struggle with dark with this movie. Like, she has the one slip up, and then that where she thought she could. So granted, that is a big moment, but it's very quickly overshadowed.
Right. Like,
and that's one of the reasons why. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I'm saying she's so poorly developed. That one scene is completely canceled within like the next 10 minutes of the movie, so she doesn't develop in that instance. She feels bad. I
will say, out of the 3 characters, okay, here's my problem with Rey. Like you said, it's not really the actor. It's not Daisy Ridley. It's not her fault. She did a good job whenever she needed to. Like, I remember Force Awakens when that scene between her and Kylo. Whenever her and Kylo were good, it was good, I feel like.
That's true.
It wasn't really her problem with her character. Her acting. It was the character. It was
the character's just poorly written.
Like you said,
Ridley knows how to act with her face.
Right.
Like, she actually does a very good job of like.
And the character is just really flat, like you said. Out of the 3, she's the most, like, Luke, Anakin, and her. She's the least interesting. She's pretty flat. She doesn't. Like you said, there's no. There's supposed to be a hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the only time she really had a hero's journey was in episode 7, where she's like finally like doesn't want to go back to Jakku. And then episode 8, she was more like upset. I understood that she does have a struggle, but she has a struggle with Luke and the inability of him to get, like, I like that. And then in this one again, there's like zero struggle. Like they're trying to force a struggle on her, and it's not there.
I really didn't. Yeah, so that's one of my biggest gripes of the movie and of the sequel trilogy as a whole, is just Rey's poorly developed character. I was really hoping that, like, with each movie that I would care about her.
Yes. I was like, oh, let me hope that I like her character. Yeah. And I definitely didn't. And it's not that she's a woman. Like, I think a lot of people are about that, and they're talking about that. Oh, she's you don't like her because she's a female protagonist. No, I love Jyn Erso.
Dude, Jyn Erso.
I love Sabine Wren.
Fantastic.
I love Jyn Erso. I like Sabine Wren. I like Ahsoka Tano. I like Princess Leia. I like Padme.
I like Hayden Versio.
Yeah, Hayden Versio. I like shoot. Hera Syndulla. Dang. Did I already say Leia? I think I already said Leia.
You did say Leia.
Yeah. So like, I honestly feel like that might be another thing is that they were really hindered in the last two films because Carrie Fisher really couldn't do her scenes.
Yeah.
So maybe they did say that this film was really going to focus on her, and so I thought that would have been really cool because she's always been the light of the Skywalker family.
She has.
Like, in terms of, like, Luke has always been kind of wishy-washy. He's been kind of a teenager farm boy, right? But she's always been, like...
She's been his rock.
But she's been the best of her mother and her father.
Mm-hmm.
Their traits.
And by the way, and talking about that, actually, I will say that to give an argument as to why Rey's character is so poorly written, Luke Skywalker... Yeah, okay, he's the typical farm boy. He is ambitious. He wants to be the hero, but he learns like every single movie. He's learning.
Right. Episode 4, he's unsure, and he's scared, and he's, I guess, always fighting the battles that the Jedi do exist. Right. Like even with Han Solo, when he's training with the lightsaber, Han Solo is still not convinced that like Jedi were actually that good, because he's like looking at Luke training and he's like actually garbage at the first, right? And then he puts on the visor and he's like, oh shoot.
And then episode 5 rolls around and he's like, he's
too eager.
Yeah, he's confident in himself as a rebel, and then he goes to Dagobah, gets trained, and he becomes arrogant.
Right.
You literally see Anakin in him in that film.
Right, I really do. That's why episode 5 is one of the best.
And I have these powers, I'm going to use them.
Yeah, like, I'm going to save my friends. And he's like, dude, this is the point of being a Jedi. You have to sacrifice sometimes. They can take care of themselves.
Yeah, and then finally we get to episode 6, where he's actually wise.
Yeah, he goes back to Yoda and he says, I understood what you meant now. And he's like...
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
And he's like... And then Yoda's also like... Yoda, in a sense, is also like... Maybe you had to go through that to learn it, right? Because, like, you know, Yoda's wise, so he's like, maybe you did have to fail once to see your flaws. So, like, Luke's development was crazy. Obviously, Anakin's, and then Rey's.
Anakin, you know, he's a bratty kid. The problem that the prequel movies have is that, you know, Hayden Christensen did not do an incredible job acting. Though we'll also talk about that because.
Hey, bro. No, hold on. Scratch that. I think he did well.
All right. So here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying. Hayden Christensen did a very good job.
Okay. We're changing this topic.
Oh my god. Yeah,
we're gonna add this topic in. We're adding this topic in. No, we're adding this topic in right now.
Oh, sure.
We're going at it because you just brought up my boy Hayden. Okay.
Okay.
Who did a better job, Hayden Christensen or Daisy Ridley? And like, I'm not talking about just purely their acting. I'm talking about including with their character, what they were supposed to portray. Was Hayden Christensen's Anakin better, or was Daisy Ridley's Rey better?
Very intense wording.
I think I think there's a bit of a bias. I'm going to have a bit of a bias because with Anakin, we have the Clone Wars. We have
not just Hayden Christensen's. Just try and
prequels. Well, so here's what. Let me get to what I'm driving home here.
Okay.
With that, we have an idea of what Anakin's character should be, which is kind of charismatic, an incredibly strong Jedi, but also someone who struggles with keeping their emotions intact and resisting the temptation of the dark side. With that in mind, we have no real concept of what Rey's character should have been. We have, again, Rey's character, not developed at all. Bullshit. No. So we have no idea of what she should be, what her ideal self would be.
Okay.
That being said, I think that Hayden Christensen did a much better job at portraying Anakin.
Yes.
I think Hayden Christensen's Anakin is a better character.
Yes.
Than Daisy Ridley's Rey.
Yes.
Correct.
reason for that is
you're correct on that one.
Now, Hayden Christensen, I still don't really think was a fantastic actor. There were a lot of times where like his delivery was just off, and I think it was partially because the character was very awkwardly written in certain movies. It was partially because
you're talking about episode 2 in general, though.
I'm definitely talking
because episode 3. I don't really have a problem with him in episode 3 as much. I think that was his. I think that was his piece. No, so here's my thing with Hayden Christensen's thing with his portrayal as Anakin. I think he gets a lot of heat, but people don't understand it in the sense that they're not understanding it through his lenses. So he's portraying Anakin as a kid who had to leave his mother and was a slave. Like, this boy, he's a slave, right? So imagine if you plucked a slave out of today, like out of like, I don't know, the slavery in the USA, and then was like, okay, you're gonna be a cop now.
That's true.
And so like the way he lashes out, the way he knows he's good at what he does, then the things he knows are good and bad and wrong, and his whole thing with that, because he's seen, I mean, the Jedi have seen it, but they've not lived it. Maybe some of them, but he was a slave.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I completely agree. And I'm not trying to drive home that his character is bad. What I'm trying to drive home here is Hayden Christensen. Now, and this is kind of what I was getting at when I said that some people would argue that he played Anakin perfectly, which is George Lucas gave Hayden Christensen the description of Anakin, who is someone who is constantly in a battle with himself, basically. Right. He is constantly fighting his emotions. He's constantly fighting his feelings, his impulses to be this exemplary Jedi.
Yeah.
And I think it almost makes it so that he forces himself to be robotic. So if you hear the way that Hayden Christensen talks, the way he looks, the way that like his facial expressions, all of them seem forced. But I feel like depending on how you interpret the character, that is 100% accurate. That is how Anakin should be, is forced. He is charismatic.
Yeah.
There are times he's dicking around with Obi-Wan.
All right, no more dicking around.
Or making fun of Obi-Wan. But he's also, like, whenever he's feeling emotional, he has no idea how to process that emotion. Because from he was a kid, he was told that he had to suppress it.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying, is that a lot of people give him flack, his character flack. And he was supposed to basically be a monk when he was a slave. So you're going from one restrictive lifestyle to another restrictive lifestyle.
And not even just a slave, because it's one thing if he was like born a slave, he was there for 5 years and they fucked up. No, he was like a 12-year-old kid.
Exactly. He's like he understands his
have emotions. You
a set of values. Right.
Yeah. So things to then completely take this individual out and make him completely change everything about himself. Yeah, there's definitely something to be said about that. So, to answer the question, that Hayden Christensen's Anakin, way better than Daisy Ridley's Rey. Again, not saying that Daisy Ridley is a bad actress.
Exactly, yeah.
Fantastic actress.
Yeah, she's very good.
He just was not given a good character.
There's no again character development, so it's hard to portray a compelling character. Like Finn had a better character development. I think Finn was probably the best character development in the whole.
I think Finn had a trilogy. fantastic character development.
Even Poe at least gets it in Last Jedi. Poe gets some in the Last Jedi where he's like a hothead and too much like loose cannon-y.
Like both Poe and Finn have way better character development than Rey ever did. Finn, I mean, he started out as a stormtrooper, found Poe.
That was cool. Yeah.
Rescued Poe, became best friends with Poe, found Rey, and decided to help her get to the Resistance.
Right.
Had a moment where he was tempted to just fuck up.
I'm out! Boom! Give a shit, man!
But decided to stay with her. Like, and then episode 8, he's literally invading Canto Bight and then going on a Star Destroyer, which is the one thing he never wanted
to do again.
He never wants to go back there, but he does it anyway and gets to fight Phasma.
Right, and get his revenge in a sense.
Yeah, gets his revenge on Phasma, and then in the third movie, he's a general.
Right.
He becomes
decision maker
for the Resistance, and finds people like him.
Right.
Finds a whole group of people who
defected stormtroopers.
Poe Dameron. I mean, he starts out as a hothead, and you think he's dead. He ends up not being dead and becomes a bigger character. Second movie, he has problems with authority and eventually learns to respect authority. And then the third movie, I mean, he butts heads with Rey. He and Finn have like a little brotherly bond. Mm-hmm. He admits that he needs help to Finn, like, and he has such and you really see like how the relationship that he has with the Resistance and his comrades,
right?
Because you see him like crushed when he thinks that he led his team to death,
exactly,
and then the elation he feels when the rebels come, like it's they. I could go on and on, but I don't think I need to. They're much more developed than Rey ever was.
Okay, so I guess this is a good segue into the next debate topic, which is the overall treatment of the sequel trilogy.
Okay, so
the whole trilogy treated as its whole. What was, if you can pinpoint one, I guess, give me what you thought of it, and then give me one problem that you could see fixed easily. There you go.
Sure. So what I thought of the sequel trilogy is, I mean, overall, I like it. I do. I can still go back and watch pretty much every single one of the trilogy movies and have a good time. What I really think would be changed that would make the movie so much better is simply, well, two things, actually. Rey's development, but I'm going to stop talking about that because I've harped on that for I don't even know how long. The thing that I think would have completely changed the trilogy and made it 10 times better is if one person was working on it.
Dang, that's my take. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I didn't mean to take that from you. But like, it really is a thing. Like, there's so much creative difference within the sequel trilogy that one movie doesn't quite flow to the other. Like, the whole saga doesn't quite flow together incredibly well. Like, the fact that The Rise of Skywalker basically tried to change a lot that The Last Jedi did.
Right. Retcon of Snoke.
Yeah, it retconned a whole lot. I mean, the first 10 minutes of the movie, you realize that Snoke was never really a person,
right,
and that Palpatine was alive.
Yes.
And they don't explain how, they don't explain why.
That was
later on they do in the novelization and in the picture book, but they don't really. They could
have thrown a line in to help us out with that one.
They did. The dark side is backloaded in many abilities that some would deem unnatural.
Yeah, I guess dark science. Yeah.
Hey man, that is something that we can talk about too. The Force as a plot device, because there are so many things.
Yeah, don't use it. Don't use it as a plot device.
That is wrong. Well, that's the thing. There are so many things that's wrong with the Star Wars franchise. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot wrong with the Star Wars franchise. There's a lot good about it, but there's a lot wrong with it.
Right.
I can say that because I'm a Star Wars fanboy. But the Force is the perfect. Like, George Lucas really hit the mark when he decided to make this Force, because it is the perfect plot device.
Yeah, it's the will of the Force. It's just how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, you can literally explain away almost every literary mistake,
right,
or inconsistency with the Force.
That's the Force.
Okay. That's but yeah, so that I think is one of my biggest gripes, is that the amount of creative difference caused the movies to feel so incredibly different that they didn't really flow together, and towards the end of it, basically one movie kind of contradicted the other.
So I'm gonna give you I agree with yours, but I also disagree. Does that make sense? Like, I understand where you're going.
I'm curious where you're going with this.
Like let's say it was one creator, then yeah, we get one vision and there's not a whole lot of retconning, or there's a better flow because it's one story and then they could just break it up into three parts. But if you're talking about, I do believe that The Last Jedi was one of the top films rated by critics of the Star Wars franchise, and even Force Awakens was too, because they think they're both above 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's one where critics' values were valued higher than people. So when you're talking about that, I do believe that one creator would have helped, but I don't think one creator screwed up. Not having one creator screwed up the trilogy up till the first 2 movies. So my thing is that I don't think that you can have 2 films made by J.J. Abrams. I don't think that was a wise idea. So what I mean to say is, if J.J. made the first film and Ryan made the second, the third film should have been Colin Trevorrow's. They shouldn't have moved away from that.
Well, we can talk about how Colin Trevorrow's story was just infinitely better.
Right. And Duel of the Fates was, I think, by a lot of even fans and critics, was better. And so you're talking about that in and of itself. I think that if you had someone else write episode 7, for example, and Rian Johnson or someone still stayed with episode 8, I think that there should have been a third writer and director for episode 9.
Yeah.
So I think that would have made this trilogy probably one of the best, is that if you just had 3 different ones. So you could argue that one would have been great, because obviously too many cooks.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
One kettle doesn't help, right? Too many cooks. Yeah. So that, I understand that argument, because that's true. When you're trying to write something, especially when you're doing something creative, too many people doesn't help, because everyone has their own idea of what it should have been. But if you give free reins for someone to do Act 1, if you give free rein for someone to do Act 2, if you do free rein to give someone Act 3, then I think you do have a really cool story, because it's almost like that game where you start a story off and then you end it, and then you ask, and then down the line someone else finishes the second part of the story, and then down the line someone finishes the third part of the story. You know, that little game that people used to do in elementary school where they're like, okay, start a story. Telephone. Telephone, but like give 2 sentences, okay, and then you add on 2 sentences, okay, then add on 2 sentences. That really gives a really cool and unique story that maybe one single person couldn't have done. So I think that's what the sequel trilogy could have had, is that it could have been so refreshing every time, and it could have had a cohesiveness that not a single writer could have done. Because maybe that was what George Lucas's, a lot of people thought that was his fault with the prequels, even though now they're being more adored, is that since he had creative reign over 6 films, the prequels suffered because he already had an idea of what he wanted to do, and so any changes to how that was going to be implemented, he didn't allow that in a sense. That even if he did, it wasn't as big as if you had just 3 creative teams doing their own thing, adding on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it.
So I think that if you to argue the opposite way, I would have liked to see 3 distinct creative groups make the saga rather than just than just 2, because 2 always fight. Where like if you and me, we have a debate, right? But a third person would maybe come in and say, okay, I see both your points are valid, here's my take, and it'd be kind of a mixture of both, and that could have been episode 9, you know?
I can see that working, and I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what they did for the original trilogy.
Right.
Like I'm pretty sure they had 3 different directors. So I guess I'll take that back. I think having one director, you make a lot of good points. I think that makes sense.
No, but I understand the thing too, because if I had, at first I was like, one person, give it to JJ, let him do it. Give it to Ryan, let him do it. Give it to someone else, let them do it. But
I don't think you should ever say that Rian Johnson should write all 3 movies. I'm pretty sure our show will never take off if that's happening.
No, I think he should. I think, you know how he's supposed to be slated for a trilogy? I think the only thing that was wrong with The Last Jedi was that people had an idea of what was supposed to happen, and it didn't. And then what did happen, or I think that, because even if you look at fans, when the fans scoring their surveys, anonymously, it was an A rating. Critics was an A. And they rarely give A's.
A lot of people don't like The Last Jedi.
No, I think a lot of what happens in this case, is that The Last Jedi, the criticism, the so-called controversy, is a case of the angry being louder. Yeah. And therefore they think they're right. That's all I think. Like being louder doesn't make you, or angrier and louder doesn't make you right. You have to prove your point. That is a perfectly valid
statement.
Facts.
Now, I definitely have opinions on Last Jedi that I did not enjoy. but they really mostly just center around Canto Bight.
But that's honestly like a side story in a sense, right?
And we can argue about that at another day. I think I do want to eventually do something where it's like blank movie. Did it suck? And then have a discussion.
All right, well, we'll do that.
Because we could have that over the entire prequel trilogy. We could have that over Last Jedi.
Okay, but yeah. So for Rise of Skywalker and the entire sequel saga, I'll give it because it is fresh, it's new, and better CGI, better all this. I'll give it I'll give it a B+.
I'll say the entire
maybe an A-, somewhere around
A-. Putting it in full perspective with visuals, with CGI, with story, with characters, I think I give it a B+. I think that's a very fair.
It's fair. Now I gave it an A- because I think the cinematography really put it over the edge of the if you're comparing it to the original trilogy, obviously because we're in this time, but even now, I think that the minds have seen so much film and we've absorbed so much film, even through video and TV and now streaming services, that our creativity is when you're trying to do something like Rian Johnson's, for example, with the Battle of Crate was so visually appealing. All his stuff was just nice. It's just nice to look at. You could put the movie on mute and you'd be like, wow, this is nice.
Now, I will say though that I feel like it is definitely possible to incorporate really good story with really good visuals and have Star Wars. We have seen that in Rogue One, and no one better argue with me on this because I fully believe that Solo, fantastic.
Right, I think it's good too. But again, it's another case of the angry where they were too loud. Yeah, it's just stupid. It's just plain stupidity on their part because, this is why I do think that the overall, I guess now that we're talking about the overall sequel trilogy, we'll include the anthology films in this too. But I do think that the so-called Star Wars fans are nothing less than just trolls, and so they really, I think they did a wonderful job with it, and I think that the people who have a problem with it aren't really Star Wars fans because they don't enjoy Star Wars for what it is. It's whatever idea comes forward at you, you have to digest it and go on, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what Star Wars is kind of all about. It's it's not perfect. It's a messy storyline, right?
Yeah.
It's a space. It's a space opera. That's what he called it. It's a space opera.
Yeah. It is.
No character is perfect. Every character does something wrong where you're like, I don't agree with it. But it's in line with that character or something, keeps going. So, yeah.
I've been playing with my Darth Revan mask. But
nice. I really
okay. Enjoy this.
So, yeah. Thanks for viewing this episode, and we'll come at you. Please leave your comments below. Hit a like button, subscribe, and see, maybe leave us with some more topics about anything geek that you want us to discuss, and we'll just debate who's right.
I really want to get into some other fandoms. I'm a role-playing game fiend.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever played RPGs.
I have only a few times, but so this will be interesting for me.
Yeah, them. I love them. I've been literally. I was just scrolling through the internet today trying to figure out if there's a Naruto tabletop RPG.
Dang,
I love that shit. So yeah, definitely. Put it in the comments. Let us know what you want us to talk about. While we do love Star Wars, obviously we are nerds at heart, and there are so many things that we do enjoy, and maybe other things that we haven't researched or looked into.
And if you guys want us to know about it, let us know because we'll look into it.
Yeah. We can definitely talk about some other fandoms, and maybe even get some fandoms that don't have a lot of traction out there.
Yeah,
I think that'd be really cool.
But yeah, man, this is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.